Okay, here's a new article in from the UK on archaeology, and kind of interesting. We were just talking about boats and earliest boating. In fact, we've done that over a few videos. 8,000-year-old wooden platform at world's first boatyard shows Stone Age Britons were master carpenters, and as old as 8,000 years old. And I believe they've redated this now, and they're getting in the 9,000 years old. So it's getting closer to a reason why this may be buried in just offshore. You know, I don't like the statement world's first boatyard, because that says this was the first boats they ever made, and it looks like it was well formed and was not the first boatyard. For we've seen 16,000-year-old boats drawn in cave art, and 20,000 year, and the Australians got to Australia some damn how, and so on. So we can't have, that. And ancient Neanderthal actually made it to the island of Malta a long time ago and left remnants there too of their Masterian tools. So even that far back it was going on too. So what's weird though is you can see the formation of this, and it almost looks like they were lock-a-block together. There's a few theories that I have on this though, and what it may have looked like, but of course I'm not looking at the information, and especially what the divers first saw. But the world's oldest boatyard, complete with a wooden platform and tools, has been discovered off the coast of the Isle of Wight, showing Mesolithic man was advanced carpenters. Archaeologists first suspected a Stone Age site existed near Yarmouth in the 1990s after fishermen reported dredging up planks of wood, and a lobster was seen throwing worked flints out of its burrow by a diver. But recent excavations by the Maritime Archaeological Trust have shown it is probably the world's oldest boat building site to date, dating back around 8,000 years. And this summer, archaeologists discovered a platform consisting of around 60 to 70 split and sheared timbers, several layers thick, resting on horizontally laid round wood foundations. And so this is looking like it would have been either to dry it out, or this may have been the actual stance that they build the boat in and stuff. So it may have been something along that line, but it sounds more like what they're looking at is just a series of slats, if you will, just like the slats that ended up finally making the Egyptian boats. But way back now, and actually way even after this time, the Egyptians and the Sumerians are not using wooden boats. And while they have that one SA canoe that they found and so on, this is boats. These are big boats, pretty good size. Some of these planks are some 20, 30 foot long. And if you figure they're going to make a boat that's 20 to 30 foot long, or use more than one in a stretch, and could be much longer than that, just like the Phoenician boats were made and everything else. And by the remnants that are here, it definitely shows something that we didn't think was going on at that time. Let's look at another archaeological paper on it also. Science Daily News, they said the Maritime Archaeological Trust has discovered a new 8,000-year-old structure next to what is believed to be the oldest boat building site in the world on the Isle of Wight. Director of the Maritime Archaeological Trust, Gary Momber, said this is a new discovery is particularly important as the wooden platform is part of a site that doubles the amount of worked wood found in the UK from a period that lasted 5,500 years. It goes back to over 8,000. The site lies east of Yarmouth, and the new platform is the most intact wooden Middle Stone Age structure ever found in the UK. The site is now 11 meters below sea level, so it's about 35 foot. And during the period there was a human activity on the site, of course. It was dry land with lush vegetation. Importantly, it was a time before the North Sea was fully formed, on the Isle of Wight, and it was still connected to the mainland of Europe. And indeed, we just talked about Doggerland, and so this does connect definitely to it. And I said clearly in that video, and I have before many times, but it's easily to think along these lines that, well, if these are boat people and it's out on the shoreline, and they lived out on the shoreline, and the shoreline is now underwater, that's where we should look, and this is where they found it. Now, the site was first discovered in 2005 and contains an arrangement of trimmed timbers that could be platforms, walkways, or a collapsed structure. However, these were difficult to interpret until the Maritime Archaeological Trust used the state-of-the-art photogrammetry techniques to reconstruct or record the remains. During the late spring, the new structure was spotted eroding from within the drowned forest. The first task was to create a 3D digital model of the landscape so it could be experienced by non-divers and archaeologists, and it was then excavated by the Maritime Archaeological Trust during the summer and has revealed a cohesive platform consisting of split timbers several layers thick, resting on horizontally laid out round wood foundations. Gary continued that the site contains a wealth of evidence for technological skills that were not thought to have been developed for a further couple of thousand years, such as advanced woodworking. The site shows the value of marine archaeology for understanding the development of civilization. And as I said, there are lots of things that are just off the coast, like that giant stone circle that's just off the Aegean coast, and whenever they figure out the depth of it, they say, yeah, that was back at the last ice age was going. So apparently that's much older than Stonehenge and things. It way predates it. Found by Bob Ballard while he was looking for ships and stuff. Yet being underwater, there are no regulations that can protect it. Therefore, it is down to our charity with the help of our donors to save it before it's lost forever. Now, they're working on it to record the study of it and display a collection of the timbers. Many of the wooden artifacts are being stored in the British Ocean Sediment Core Research Facility. As with sediment cores, ancient wood will degrade more quickly if it is not kept in dark, wet, and cold setting. While being kept cold, dark, and wet, the aim is to remove salt from within the wood cells of the timber, allowing it to be analyzed and recorded. This is important because archaeological information such as cut marks or engravings are most often found on the surface of the wood and are lost quickly when the timber degrades. Yeah, like whenever you've had wood in water for a while, if you pick it up, you can just smear it with your fingers and a deep layer will come off of it. And after this amount of time, that muck layer must have lost any shape, if there were any shapes or anything on this, but I wouldn't think so. But they would maybe look for marks in the boards and see how things were built, and nail holes, all kinds of things. Of course, they're not supposed to have nails back then, but then lashing holes for ropes and so on. Any signs of bitumen, all kinds of things could be gleaned further from this. Once the timbers have been recorded and they have been desalinated, the wood can be conserved for display. So it's pretty neat there. There's more on it here about Boscor and how this changes the history of many things. They were awestruck by these incredible remains, but this material, coupled with other advanced woodworking skills and finely crafted tools, suggests a European Neolithic or New Stone Age influence. The problem is that it is all being lost. As the solent evolves, sections of the ancient land surface are being eroded by up to half a meter per year, and the archaeological evidence is disappearing. Scorpion Trust has gotten behind it, though, and they've gotten a lot of volunteers and even divers and such, and they were able to pull this off, and I think it's pretty incredible. And look at that. Oh, this isn't the one that had the picture of the wood in it. Anyhow, so the oldest boat building site that we've found to date, not the first, but the oldest boat building site we found to date, and this predates all things before, but it's strange how things change in a line like this. I've been talking about and made videos about all these reed boats, these ancient high-prowed reed boats, and how they even go back to 5000 BC, 6000 BC, that we know for sure. And then there's these things on the wall that go back 8, 10, 16, and 22, or 20, depending on whose number scale you use, 1000 BC, but there's never been any proof for it or anything. And it seems like all of those may have been reed boats, but then you find something that dates not 5,500 years old, but 8,000 years old. So, near 3,000 year older, and yet it's already wood and a full dock structure like you would see today, it seems like, in a full culture that had it going on. And so that's different than what we were led to believe that people were at too. So again, I get to use my famous catchphrase, older than previously thought. Boats. Isn't that amazing? Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy, guys. And we'll get on to another one real soon. Peace.